Imagine, just for a second, a highly advanced neurobiological mechanism built directly into your brain. Think of it like a targeted, overnight therapy session that literally strips away the emotional friction of your day, recalibrates your entire nervous system, and actively repairs the damage of modern burnout. We're not talking about a new supplement, and it's definitely not some trendy biohack. It's a biological protocol for stress and cognitive recovery that happens entirely in the dark. Welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to dive into the ultimate hack for emotional resilience.
You know the feeling, right? It's a deeply relatable frustration. You do everything right. You get into bed on time, you log a full 8 hours, but you wake up feeling like your brain just ran a marathon. Your focus is completely shattered, that brain fog is thick, and your emotional fuse, practically non-existent. Well, modern neuroscience is finally showing us exactly why this happens. As it turns out, the hours you spend unconscious just don't tell the full story.
The hidden culprit here is a concept known as low REM. See, we often think of sleep as this single, uniform state of rest, like turning off a switch. But actually, it's a highly complex architectural cycle. When you log all those hours in bed, but fail to achieve restorative, neurobiologically active rapid eye movement, or REM sleep, you are fundamentally starving your brain. You're depriving it of the exact phase it relies on to process stress and balance dopamine. Low REM is really the invisible driver behind the modern burnout epidemic we're all seeing today.
All right, let's jump into part one, anatomy of the dream state.
Every night, there's a brilliant division of labor happening in your brain. On one side, you have slow-wave sleep. This is your deep sleep, and it's all about physical restoration, fixing the biological hardware and stabilizing the facts you learned during the day. But contrast that with REM sleep. REM is your brain's highly active cleaning cycle. During REM, your brainwaves look almost identical to when you're wide awake. This is where the magic of emotional recalibration, creative problem-solving, and systemic integration happen. And incredibly, it all takes place while your body undergoes profound muscle atonia, which is basically a temporary paralysis. To put this into perspective, for optimal cognitive function and longevity, a healthy adult requires precisely 20 to 25% of their total sleep time to be spent in this REM state. But here is the massive catch. REM sleep is heavily backloaded in the second half of the night. So if you're cutting your sleep short with an early alarm, you aren't just losing a little bit of all the sleep stages evenly. No, you are disproportionately obliterating your REM sleep. The sheer mechanical elegance of how your brain triggers this state is just incredible. Researchers actually call it the flip-flop switch. Deep inside the lateral hypothalamus, there's a neural circuit that acts kind of like a master switchboard dropping the lights in a large building. It utilizes specific inhibitory neurons to aggressively silence the wake-promoting systems in your brain, decisively pulling your consciousness down into a deeply immersive, isolated state.
Which brings us to part two, overnight therapy and resilience.
There's this foundational model in modern sleep neuroscience proposed by researchers Matthew Walker and Els van der Helm, and it's beautifully summarized as sleep to forget, sleep to remember. It elegantly explains exactly how REM acts as that overnight therapy we talked about. During REM, your brain essentially replays the emotionally charged events of your day. It selectively strips away the painful, visceral emotional sting from those memories, that's the forgetting part, while holding on to and consolidating the underlying lessons, which is the remembering part.
This whole process is known as the REM recalibration hypothesis. With optimal REM sleep, your brain's ability to differentiate between a real actual threat and a totally safe signal becomes remarkably sharp. Without it, well, your amygdala, which is your brain's emotional threat center, remains hyperactive and loses its specificity. You literally begin to react to everyday stressors like a totally normal work email as if they are survival threats. REM recalibrates your nervous system, effectively preventing trauma loops and dramatically improving your baseline emotional regulation.
So how does the brain pull off this delicate emotional surgery safely? It's through a phenomenon called monoaminergic silence. During REM sleep, major stress and arousal neurotransmitters like noradrenaline and cortisol drop completely to zero. Zero. This is literally the only time in a 24-hour cycle that this happens. It creates a biologically safe, neurochemically calm environment for the mind to process emotional friction without triggering a panic response in your body.
But what happens when things go wrong? Let's look at part three, when the system breaks.
You remember that muscle paralysis we talked about earlier? Well, when the system breaks down, we see a condition called REM sleep without atonia. Basically, this is a failure of specific neural circuits in the brainstem to paralyze the muscular system during a dream. The dramatic consequence of this failure is clinically known as REM sleep behavior disorder.
the protective paralysis drops, and individuals actually begin to physically and sometimes violently act out their dreams in real life.
And what makes this breakdown so sobering is that it isn't just some quirky sleep issue. The failure of this precise paralysis circuit actually serves as a critical early neurological warning sign. Research shows it can be a prodromal marker for neurodegenerative diseases, sometimes surfacing years before any other symptoms appear. It just proves the sheer necessity and complexity of this biological system working correctly to protect us every single night.
So let's fix it. Here is part 4, the REM optimization protocol.
To restore this architecture, we first have to identify the REM destroyers. These are the modern lifestyle factors that actively obliterate our natural cycles. First up, chronic cortisol from ongoing stress. This keeps the brain hypervigilant. Then, evening alcohol. It's a massive disruptor acting as a powerful REM suppressant in the first half of the night. Obviously, sleep deprivation inherently cuts off the REM-dense portion of your sleep. And lastly, certain medications, particularly SSRI antidepressants, can significantly suppress REM and alter that necessary muscle paralysis.
Restoring your REM cycle requires some targeted intention. Step 1. Extend your sleep opportunity to 7 to 9 hours. You absolutely have to do this to capture that late-night REM dominance. Step 2. Aggressively wind down your stress before bed. Lowering cortisol is mandatory if you want your brain to feel safe enough to dream. Step 3. Lock in a consistent circadian schedule, ideally using morning light exposure. And Step 4. Ruthlessly limit evening alcohol to protect your early night sleep architecture.
The science here is absolutely clear. Your brain possesses this miraculous, built-in mechanism to process trauma, regulate dopamine, restore focus, and build true emotional resilience. The overnight therapy is ready to deploy. The only question you have to ask yourself is, are you giving your brain the safe, optimized environment it needs to heal itself tonight?